Well, hello, my name is Camille and I work for OfferingTree. We're an all-in-one business platform where you can host your classes, your courses, your memberships, and your on-demand video. So if you're not familiar with OfferingTree, we're more than just a tech platform. We're really here to be a community that's supporting wellness entrepreneurs. So that's one of the reasons why we offer these free webinar series with our great partners, like Veronica. So, we also really emphasize the community part of entrepreneurship because being an entrepreneur is not easy, y'all. I'm sure you know it's can be a lot of struggle. So many of our webinars in the past have kind of focused on like growth or using tools like Instagram, but I'm really excited to for this session to really take it back to the most important thing about business, which is your mindset. And who better to teach us about mindset than life coach, yoga instructor, and so much more, Veronica Thai. So thank you so much for joining us, Veronica. And I will turn the mic over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Camille. That was a fantastic introduction. You guys, let me figure this out. I'm going to screen share. You know what I'm doing? I'm actually splitting my main screen into two screens, so I actually have three screens going. So here we go. Yes, I think that worked. And I'm trying to see, you guys, if I'm able to see the chat box while I have my screen shared. Camille, by any chance,
Yeah.
do you know that's a possibility?
Can you hover up near the top of your Zoom window? And that's when
Sure.
you can see like the bar. Do you see that like black where it says chat and
Yeah.
raise hands? So you can kind of drag that and then hit the chat button and that should pop it out. Does that
I
work for you?
actually, I act, okay, yes. Yes, I do. Yay.
Yay!
Look at me. Okay.
Thanks for your patience, everyone. Okay, Veronica, take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, since we started with a little bit of that technical stuff, maybe I'll just start right off the bat with a little bit of housekeeping. And that is that, well, it's pretty simple. I am going to try and keep my eyeballs on the chat box because throughout this presentation, I've kept it very interactive. I'm going to be asking you questions, and hopefully you'll answer in the comments so that we can start a dialogue. With that said, though, if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A because that's where I'm going to see them. I am going to have time at the very end for some Q&A. If you have a burning question, put it in the Q&A box right away. I'll take a peek at that once in a while as well. I'm doing a very dangerous thing right now, which is me trying to multitask. We'll see how that goes. So at the very beginning, we asked you guys to introduce yourselves, where you calling in from. And what I really, really wanted to know was what kind of work you put out into the world. As my guess was correct, most of you guys are wellnesspreneurs. And I'm guessing that you are people who really want to help improve other people's lives and well-being. And because you have joined me, which by the way, thanks so much for joining into this webinar, 5 ways to trade struggle for inspired action. Because you've joined this webinar, I'm guessing you know a thing or two about the struggle. Yes, I am guessing that you have taken a couple of rides through that roller coaster. They usually call it an entrepreneurial roller coaster, although I think anyone gets to take a ride on that. You know what that roller coaster feels like, I'm sure. On the one hand, one day you're feeling inspired, full of possibilities and excited. And then the next day, or hour, or minute, or moment, depending on how fast this roller coaster is going, you feel overwhelmed by fear and discouragement. What seemed like the best idea ever now feels like a dumb idea. Or you have this inspiration of, oh my gosh, yes, I can totally help people do that. And I should make this whole big workshop and it's going to be wonderful. But wait, who do I think I am to do this? No, I can't even believe that I thought of an idea like that. So that's the struggle. That's the roller coaster. And because you're joining this webinar, I'm guessing you're a little bit tired of being on that ride, the up and down, the up and down. You just want to get out there and do more. of what you love. You're tired of feeling like you're stuck or that you're being held back. You're already an excellent teacher. Already an excellent coach. You're already an excellent whatever it is that your craft or your art is. But then why does it feel so hard sometimes? It just feels so hard. Wait, pause. What's hard? Why does it feel so hard? Right. The roller coaster, the up and down is what feels so hard. And the ups and downs can feel really, really tiring. It's hard to put your work out there, especially when it's meaningful work, when you have this incessant chirping in your ear that's doubting you, that says things like, you should be further along by now. Why didn't you do this faster? What if it doesn't work? You should be doing it way better than this, so on and so forth. So, that's what's on tap today. Today, in this webinar, we are going to talk about how to do more of what you love without so much struggle. So, what I mean by so much struggle is not taking so many rides of that up and down roller coaster. With that said, I want to be very clear that I am not teaching you how to abolish all fears in this webinar today. I think that would be a little ambitious of us. And plus, I have to say that fear does have its place. Fear does have its place in supporting us along our journeys. But what we can do and what does help us is when we're able to decrease the amounts of up and downs that we have. Oh, wait, I wanted to say fear does have its place in supporting us along our journey. And plus, it's normal. It's totally normal. That's actually another part of the struggle when you're scared to do something and then you judge yourself for being scared to do something. Well, it's natural to feel that fear, especially when we're doing something unfamiliar. So that's one thing. We're also going to talk about why it all begins with what happens internally first. I cannot stress this enough, and I cannot stress the next point enough that energy is your most important resource. Energy really is your most important resource. I have so much to say on this, but I'll keep that for later so that you can get a lay of the land of where we're going today. Lastly, 5 ways to get more ease and inspired action into your life. To really open up to the possibility that you can share your work out to the world, you can build your business from a place of ease, flow, and inspired action rather than strain, doubt, and imposter syndrome. It is absolutely possible. When I first learned this, it blew my mind. It was a huge paradigm shift. And it was a relief because then I stopped feeling like I had to run around like a crazy chicken with its head cut off. And I realized that I could actually be still, I could actually rest, and that would actually take me further. We're going to have two parts to the conversation, to the webinar today. The first part is unpacking the struggle. What is the struggle anyway? And what we're really trying to answer is, well, what is it that we're actually trying to change? And then part two are when I'm going to give you the 5 ways that's going to help you change. In other words, get out of the struggle. Less struggle, more ease. I'll give a short introduction to myself. Hi, everyone. I'm Veronica Thai. I am joining you today from Alberta, Canada, home of the Rocky Mountains. I really didn't appreciate the mountains until I got a little bit older. And now, oh my goodness, the mountains are like my second home. And my time out there in nature is one of my most precious times of all. I am a life coach, yoga teacher, and the host of the Yoga, Spirituality, and Wellness podcast, Curious Monkey. I help heart centered people, people who really want to make a positive difference in the world, who feel like they're stuck tight in a bud, expand into who they really are. As a result, they show up as the fullest version of themselves and share the amazing things that they were meant to out into the world. I want to add a side note here. I do a lot of side notes, by the way. I I tie showing up as the fullest version of yourself to doing what you're meant to do. Because when you're doing what you're meant to do, that's not something that's coming from a place of ego. That's not I want a window office so I can be superior to all the minions beneath me. It, I'm guessing because you're in this webinar and I've seen so many yoga teachers, EFT practitioners, people, you really are out there trying to make people's lives better. This must be then a calling from the heart. This must be then a calling from deep within you, your soul. Perhaps you use that word as well, perhaps a calling from your soul. And when we are stepping up to do this soul work, well, this heart centered work, well, then we're asked to step up. You need to dig deep. You need to look in the dark places and shine light on them. You need to be willing to have the courage to step up, show up, and be the fullest version of yourself. Be the most authentic version of yourself, because that is what you're trying to bring into light for others as well. So that's my 2 cents on why I always add your fullest self to doing what you're meant to do. And actually, the 5 tools that I'm showing you today is in are also ways to bring you to your fullest self so that you can show up as that. I did my yoga teacher training in 2015. And like many fellow yoga teachers out there, you might agree that it was your YTT that completely changed your life. Life was never the same after that. It was my jumping board to start the Curious Monkey podcast, where I've had the wonderful opportunity. I'm so grateful for it to talk to hundreds of amazing humans out there, from yoga studio owners to coaches, transformational coaches, to healers, sound healing. I think I did one of the really cool ones was somatic healing. And most recently, I did one with Alex Haley from OfferingTree. Oh my goodness, that was an incredible conversation around how to bring mindfulness even into your day to day. So that in of itself has been quite the journey. I quit my office job. I quit the office in 2017, ended up holding workshops as a Danielle Laporte desire map facilitator. And that was meaningful because it was the desire map that helped me quit my job in the first place. Then, uh, most recently, a couple of years ago, I became a life coach through the Wayfinder Life Coaching Program with Martha Beck, who is an author and life coach expert for O Magazine and the Oprah Winfrey Show. This was also extremely meaningful because it was actually one of Martha's articles in O Magazine that I read back in 2012 that planted the seed of entrepreneurship, the possibility of something like that for me in the first place. And, sometimes I think back to the version of me 5 to 8 years ago, the girl who was stuck between 4 flimsy walls of her cubicle, lost and yearning to find purpose. And I wonder, like, what would she think of this life now? You know what? I think she'd love it. I think she'd love to hear that this is the life that she gets to live now. But if I were to tell her what the journey looked like getting there, the struggles along the way, I think she would get scared. She would get scared at thinking that at one point she would be so scared that she would feel like throwing up almost on a daily basis because the nerves were getting the best of her. She would be scared to hear that she would be burning the candles on both ends because she felt like she had to prove something. 17-hour workdays. At one point, even a 24-hour workday, burning herself out. She would get scared at feeling like as if she would be so scared that she would end up being paralyzed. Yeah, I think she'd be scared of all of that. So, what I mean to say here is, I think our life unfolds one fold at a time, one step at a time for a reason. But these struggles are also the things that have taught me the greatest lessons. Luckily, I ended up hiring a coach who helped me layer by layer to take away all of that was holding me back. And so first message from my journey, it doesn't have to be a struggle. Absolutely not. That in itself is a shift that needs to happen. If you have it in your head that you have to burn the candle on both ends, you have to work yourself to exhaustion, that in itself is part of the struggle. And we're going to peel that away in the second part of this webinar. Now, I learned three things, three really big things, and they're the key messages that I want to share with you right off the bat. No, not that one. This one. Okay. Three key messages. First, your energy is your most important resource. The energy that you approach it with matters more than the words or the actions that you take. Now, let me unpack this a little bit for you. First off, I think we can all agree that, yeah, if you don't have energy, you can't really get results. Like you can't really get anywhere. If you're too tired all the time or you don't have the mental space to, you can't get that piece of writing out. You can barely teach class. Maybe some of you yoga teachers out there, you know that learning curve where you have to like kind of go over the limit a little bit to realize what your class limit really is. And once you're over that limit, man, teaching yet another class it takes a lot of energy. Now, the other thing that ties into this that I really want to share with you is that one of the things that I learned that helped the most is, and my coach shared this with me, is that we have an internal track and an external track. Another way to think about it that I've heard before is there's a difference between clarity and strategy. It's the difference between doing and being. That was pivotal because that really helped me better understand what was holding me back on this journey. On the one hand, I was doing all the things. I had the best courses. I was taking Marie Forleo's B School. I'm curious if anyone's taken B School, let me know. Just shout it out. Uh, she's a fantastic teacher. I took several yoga teacher trainings. Like I kept on learning. I knew all of these things. I had a website builder. I had everything. And yet I was struggling. Why? Did I not know enough? Did I need to learn another Instagram course? Did I need to learn more about LinkedIn? That actually wasn't my issue. My issue was, in fact, the internal track. It was the track that, despite all of this excellent resources that I had, there was that part of me, that incessant chirping that doubted. I don't know. I don't know if you know enough. I don't know if you can do this. What if you do it wrong? How do you know that you're doing it right, though? But what if it doesn't work? That's the internal track right there. Once that gets aligned, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Once you get that aligned, yes, then everything can move smoothly. So it doesn't have to be, though, that you have to do the internal track first and then work on the external track, which is building your website, putting out your blog articles, creating your podcast. You can do them in conjunction with each other, but just be clear. What is it that's holding you back, truthfully? Is it lack of strategy, like skill set? You don't even know how to make a post on Instagram? Or is there something going on internally that's telling you, but so and so's post is so much better? Oh my goodness, I only got 3 clicks on the last one. I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing this Instagram thing right. That clarity is really helpful. And that's going to affect your journey or your energy. The second key message, how you get there, is way more important than getting there at all. Think about it. How do you want this journey to go for you? What means the most? Does it mean more to you to get there, wherever there is, maybe a full roster of clients, maybe starting your workshop? Or does it mean more that on your journey along the way, you felt at ease, confident, happy, joyful, and excited, rather than crying, sweating, and doubting yourself the whole way through? So, really consider that, especially when you're getting caught up with the fears like, how do I want this to go? And then, lastly, how much mind space you have determines your energy and how you get there. So, the journey. It's the difference between feeling depleted, like nothing is working, versus feeling completely energized. And if you listened to me speak in the first two examples that I gave you, it's a lot of mind stuff that's going on, right? It's a lot of that internal track that's going on. Listen, here's the thing. I think we all collectively, I think we all have more than what it takes to be a master on Instagram, to be the next best yoga teacher featured on Yoga Magazine, if that's what you really want. You already know how to do it. That's most likely. You already know how to do it. But what's really holding you back is that you don't think that you know how to do it, or you don't believe that you can do it. There we go. That's the mind space. It decreases with every fear and every doubt that you have. So, oh, here's the bonus. One more thing that I want to share with you is, as I go along here, notice your body. Throughout the presentation, I'm going to ask you, or I'm going to remind you to drop into your body. Just notice this for a while. As you listen to me speak, is it feeling open, relaxed? Is it feeling tight, constricted? And when you check in with yourself, what were you thinking right before you noticed feeling tight, or right before you noticed feeling open? All right. So I was telling you how I quit my job in 2017. That was amazing. I felt so liberated. I felt like Rocky at the top of the staircase. You know that movie? And I was like, yeah, this is amazing. And then shortly thereafter, I felt so scared. I struggled. I had a vision. I knew that I was meant to help people make their lives happier and more peaceful. And yet, I couldn't even muster the courage to take a step forward. In fact, I was so scared that at one point, I think this was maybe 2017, 18, about a year after the Curious Monkey podcast had launched, I was still so shy to tell anybody about it. I simultaneously wished that more people would know about my podcast because I knew it was a great resource. But at the same time, I wished so hard that I could just be invisible. Basically, I was wondering if I could do this without actually having to show up. I was stuck tight in a bud and I was too scared to blossom. I was too scared to get big because that felt so vulnerable. And I remember this one time. So I was totally shrinking. This one time, I was at a coffee with a dear friend, and we ran into someone that she knew. He was someone who created local yoga festivals, and she told him about my podcast, and he said, "Oh, great! I drive a lot, and I love listening to podcasts. What's it called?" He asked enthusiastically. I could barely choke out the words. My mind was getting sucked into a vortex of racing thoughts. Oh man, he's going to feel like he's wasted his time if he listened to this. The sound quality isn't perfect yet. It's just a small podcast. It's not a big deal. It's small. It's so small. He probably won't like it anyways. Oh my goodness. I hope he doesn't tell too many people that this sucks. So that spiral was running wild. Forget blossoming. I wanted to stay invisible. I wanted to stay tight in a bud. I really, really wanted to be small. Eventually, I meekly replied, "Oh, that's great. It's called the Curious Monkey Podcast. You can find it on iTunes." I never followed up and asked him what he thought. I was too scared. We have a tendency to experience the plethora of doubts and fears when it comes to doing something that's really meaningful to us, like offering up a new workshop, applying to a studio, or, showing up as your most authentic self so that you can do what you're meant to do. It's scary to go up to someone and say, "Hey, hi, I heard that you like listening to podcasts and that you do yoga festivals. Well, you know what? I actually have a podcast that's about yoga and spirituality and wellness. I think you'd really like it. It's called The Curious Monkey, and you can check it out. I'm on all the places: Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen. Give it a listen and tell me what you think. Holy moly. That's scary, right? So, has it ever happened to you where you know exactly what's right for you, what feels aligned, but then you pull back? You say yes when you actually mean no, or maybe you say no when you actually meant yes, or you don't say anything at all because it felt so scary? Yeah, that's the mental struggle right there. It's what Stephen Pressfield in his book, The War of Art, calls resistance. I have 3 quotes from that book that I think sums it up nicely. Stephen Pressfield says, most of us have 2 lives: the life we live and the unlived life within us. Between the two stands resistance. Late at night, have you experienced a vision of who you might become, the work you could accomplish, the realized being you were meant to be? Are you a writer who doesn't write, a painter who doesn't paint, an entrepreneur who never starts a venture? Then you know what resistance is. He goes on to define resistance as a force that cannot be seen, touched, heard, or smelled, but it can be felt. We experience it as an energy radiating from a work in potential. It's a repelling force, it's negative. It aims to shove us away, distract us, prevent us from our work. He goes on to explain that although it feels like this resistance is coming from something outside of us, our spouses, our kids, not having the right platform for your online business, whatever it is, well, it's actually something that rises within you. So, what he calls resistance is what I call mental struggle. Right there, that's mental struggle. Okay, remember that body thing I was talking about? Notice right now if you're feeling tight, if you're feeling open, and notice what happens to your body as I tell you a little bit more about this mental struggle. Mental struggle is energy depleting. It's a place that holds you back from doing the thing that you know you're meant to do. It makes you feel doubtful, anxious, worried, and overwhelmed and discouraged. And mental struggle might sound like these kinds of thoughts that roll around in your head. See if you resonate with any of them, or if you have any special ones of your own. Go ahead, share them in the comments. And I don't mean to do it to like create, more mental struggle for everyone, but you might be interested to find that whatever you struggle with, the thoughts that you feel are so hard, somebody else, I assure you, also is struggling with that same thing. So it might sound like it's not working. I'm not doing it right, or I'm doing it wrong. I don't know how. I'm behind. Oh my gosh, I'm behind. Why would anyone listen to me? I'm not enough. Oh, and that enough one. There's actually a lot of the not enoughs. I don't have enough credentials yet. I don't have enough followers yet. I don't have enough time. I'm not enough. Yeah. There's a lot of doubt and lack in there. And the mental struggle can result in actions where things get a little bit weird. You do a couple of pretty weird things, like overlearning, where you're trying to drink out of a fire hose, reading 7 different yoga books at once because you feel like you have to become a better yoga teacher, or maybe overthinking, like it takes you 2 hours to make a social media post because you're like nitpicking on every little word that you're using. Procrastination, staying small, shrinking, Taking trainings when you don't need to, that's part of the over learning. Oh, I could apply to yoga studios, or maybe before I apply to it, I should take my like 300-hour yin training. Yeah, I think that would get me a lot further. And while I do yin, maybe I'll do some prenatal and postnatal too, because that would give me a leg up, instead of applying now with just my, 500 yoga teacher training. Yeah, maybe I can do that. Yeah, the thinking gets a little bit weird. The actions get a little bit weird. Yeah, thanks for sharing, Chris. Love. Yeah, I don't love it, but I resonate with it. No one cares. It's pointless and stupid. Yeah, yeah. And that's what happens when you're sitting in this place of struggling, of this mental struggle. It results in a lack of energy, feeling like you're failing or not getting anywhere, where it leads to probably that's where it's pointless, it's stupid, it's not working, why am I doing this again? And you feel so stuck. Man, the struggle is real. Now, what if you're in a place, as in you're not driving or doing or operating any heavy machinery or anything, if you're in a place that you can close your eyes, please close your eyes with me. Just shake out your hands for a bit. Shake out your hands. Okay. What's the opposite of mental struggle? Well, see if you can imagine this. What if you knew that you were enough? Come to me with this place. What if you knew that you were enough? That what you do on a day-to-day basis, even what you're doing right now, it's already fulfilled everything that you're meant to be doing, everything that you're meant to be doing. It's everything that you're meant to be. What if you were enough? That the people who need you, who need your help, are already coming to you. That you don't have to lift your finger and do one more thing other than to be exactly who you are. You don't need to learn one more thing. What you already know is enough. That's already what your people need, your clients, your students. Okay, go ahead and open your eyes. Tell me, number one, now how does your body feel? Closed? Open? What if you knew that you were enough? What are the feelings that come up? Drop it in the chat box. I'm guessing that when you settled into that place, nice, freedom, yeah. Ah, full of confidence and joy, yeah. Peace, inner peace. What changed? Because we were just in a place of mental struggle, right? I'm guessing that's where many of us are every day. I'm not doing enough. Oh my gosh, I can't do this. What changed? Your thinking changed. What you were thinking about changed. And that led to what a great place to be: confident, joyful, peaceful, energetic, and happy. That's the other side of mental struggle. It's the absence of the struggle. And in that place, you've got energy. You are open, relaxed, energized. There's possibilities, and you're creative. You're at the high point of the roller coaster now. So many great ideas, so many possibilities. Yes, yes, you are meant to put your gifts out into the world. Yes, You are meant to change lives, and you know it, and you're connected to it. So, how do we stay connected to this place? How do we be at that up part of the roller coaster more often than the down part? Because when you're at the down part here, and that's what I mean when I said the mind amount of mind space you have is the difference between creativity, so your journey, and how you do the journey. So, when you are at that dip of the roller coaster and you're like, oh my gosh, doubting yourself, feeling overwhelmed and exhausted, how much energy do you really have for good ideas right now? Not much. How much energy and mind space do you really have when you're in the thick of feeling like, what's the point? Everything sucks. It's not working anyway. How much energy are you getting out of that to have creative solutions? Not much. Not at the bottom. But this place that you're at now, confident and joyful and open and relaxed. Yeah. Night freedom. Yeah. Now, how much energy do you have for creativity to sit down and like it feels like as if you've just downloaded your blog article and you're like, whoa, that was really good stuff. I wonder where that came from. Or for you to find creative solutions like, oh, you know, we're not doing classes in person yet, but hey, what if I started a YouTube channel and I could charge memberships for that? Oh my gosh, I could try that out. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that part is where all of the magic happens. That part is where all of the inspired action happens. So now we're moving on to part two, from struggle to inspired action. 5 ways. I'm the first one, breathe, breathe. I know this sounds pretty basic, especially so many of us are actually yoga teachers here. And you might even be like rolling your eyes, like, okay, come on. If someone tells me to breathe one more time, but seriously, hear me out. Truly, 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 truly. If we could all remember to breathe and to stay present more often than not, there really wouldn't be a need for any of these further tools that I'm going to show you. Michael Neal, an internationally renowned success coach and author, teaches that we have a factory default setting of well being, that when our thoughts aren't taking us away from it, we actually naturally sit in a place of peace. And I love thinking about it this way, a factory default setting. So, just like how most items like a cell phone or a computer have a factory default setting, so do we. Ours is a state of our true selves, which is that of peace and joy and well being. When your phone or computer are acting super weird, which Camille is telling me that it's Mercury retrograde, so maybe that's what's happening to you for real. So when they're acting super weird and it's getting fried and there's no immediate solution, like you're pressing buttons and nothing's working, what you do is you do a hard reset, right? Just reset the whole thing, just make it go back to its default settings. When we're getting weird and fried, all we need to do is that hard reset. And to do that hard reset, it's to do nothing, nothing at all, except to breathe and be present. This was actually one of the things that came out of my conversation with Alex Haley of the Offering Tree. And oh man, I'm still sitting with it. He's like, it's not about what you gain, but more about what you let go of. Yeah. So let's take a few breaths now. Wherever you are, just sit. Inhale and exhale. And inhale. And exhale. And inhale. And exhale. Let's take it a bit further. If you're in a safe place to do so, close your eyes, hold your right hand up in the middle of the air. Without moving it, inquire within yourself, how do I know that my hand is there? How do I know that my right hand is there? Without opening your eyes or moving anything. How do I know that my hand is there? You can open your eyes, put your hand wherever you want to. Borrow that one from Eckhart Tolle. Martha Beck calls this place wordlessness. It's when you shift out of your thinking, analytical, and the verbal part of your brain into a more intuitive and creative one. This is the gateway to your inner wisdom, which in turn drops inspired action into for you. This is a place of knowing instead of trying. So, for example, instead of going around like a crazy chicken with its head cut off, trying to send 1,000 emails because you want to tell people about a workshop, you're trying really, really, really hard. When you drop into the place of wordlessness, perhaps then it dawns on you that, oh my gosh, I have a friend who works at a yoga studio and they happen to be on a board that's connected to all the studios in town. I'm just going to ask her if she'd be willing to pass my workshop along. And with one email, you get a lot further than 1,000 emails. That's inspired action. That's what you're opening yourself up to when it's wordlessness. And I'll give you an example from my own life where things started happening for me rather than me feeling like as if I had to force it. I was working on this whole energy thing and I was doing my first in-person workshop. It was a venue that was getting the best of me, finding a venue so hard, right? And I was like, man, it's hard to find a venue. Plus, when I start to budget things out, that was the hardest part. And my coach coached me on the energy, and she's like, well, is there an easier way that this can happen? Is there a way that can happen that you cannot see yet? And if that was the way, how would you feel? And I was like, okay, I wouldn't be so caught up. I wouldn't be so stressed. I wouldn't feel like as if there's no possibilities. I would feel freedom, open, and energized. Okay. So and that's actually what we spent like 3 coaching sessions on. She just like got me into that place where I'm like easeful, freedom, flowing. And guess what? I was like, wait a minute. There's actually a community center right close to my house that I was living at the time. Maybe they have a gym there. Maybe I can see how much that space is. It seems like it would be a reasonable price. And I went in, the owner happened to be there and he's like, oh yeah, I'll show you. Like the staff that's usually here isn't here today. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. Showed me the space. I inquired about the price and I was like, oh yeah, that's perfect. And he's like, yeah, I'll send you an email and you can sign it and get going with the venue. And just as I was leaving, just as I was exiting, he's like, hey, what workshop is this for anyways? And I said, well, I'm a Danielle Laporte Desire Map facilitator. Have you heard of the Desire Map before? And he's like, oh my gosh, yeah, I know the Desire Map. I love it. Listen, I'll tell you what, if you give me 2 seats at this workshop, then you can have the venue for free. What? What? That's where breathing and presence got me. So 1, breathing and presence. 2, remember that body thing? Remember that body thing that we've been doing all along? Tight and open and tight and open. Well, when you drop into that place of presence, and using the hand because that's what helps you drop into the presence. When you drop into that place of presence, then you have access to your inner wisdom, right? Then you have access to this knowing, this deep inner connection where you don't have to be dragged around by the next glittery course that's coming up. You can feel to see what's right for you. And you do that through your body because your body does not lie. It cannot lie. It knows. Think about the times where you maybe put on a smile to show everyone that you're okay, but on the inside, you're like dying a little inside, or something's really sad inside. When you say, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it, we can go next time. But truly, you're feeling disappointed. You can put a smile on your face. You can say the words out loud and say, no worries, next time is fine. But you can't deny that deflating feeling in your body if you're really actually disappointed. Now that's your compass. What I'll share with you now, just the basics. What feels open, is aligned, is meant for you. Your inner wisdom is saying, yes, yes, go that way. What feels constricted and tight and like, oh, yucky, wrong way. That's a big red flashing sign, wrong way, not that way. So, the only other thing I wanted to say about this one is that some things that sound defeating can be true too. It can still be part of your truth and what's true to you. That it could be faking it and not aligned with you for you to sit here and be like, no, you know what? I can do it all. I can do everything. I can do Instagram, yeah, and then LinkedIn, and then I can build my website by myself. Yeah, like I mean, I have to. I'm the only one operating my business right now. So, yeah, for sure, I'm sure I can learn all that stuff. Versus sometimes it depends. This is one of my realizations that I had recently. Versus when you play around with, let's say, a thought, feel it in your own body as I say this. I can't do it all. You know, sometimes people might perceive that as defeating. I can't do it all. It's like, no, come on, chin up. You can do it. No, really, I can't do it all. I can't take 6 hours creating one podcast episode and then have 4 hours working on my, I don't know, email and marketing strategy and yet go out and teach yoga classes and yet take on coaching clients. I can't do it all. And for me, when I came to that realization, it felt like freedom. It felt like kind of a melty feeling. And I was like, oh, sigh of relief. Yeah, yeah. I'll take a non business related example. Relationships might be a good one. You know, that bittersweet parting of ways sometimes when you have a breakup, a termination of a romantic relationship or a friendship where it's like sad to let go, but yet you're also relieved. Yeah, there's that as well. So it's not just clear, like, raw, super positive, and that's why and then your body opens up. I just wanted to put that in as a layer. Now, yeah, let's play around with this one. Now we're really going to play around with changing those thoughts around. Remember at the beginning when we were talking about the mental struggle, the nobody cares, or the I can't do it, I'm doing it wrong. Okay, take your top tune, find yours right now, the one that feels the ickiest. I'm going to take an example that I'd done already once on myself. And mine's was, I'm doing it wrong. It's not working. I'm doing it wrong. It's not working. Okay, is it true? This is adapting from the work of Byron Katie. She says, a thought is harmless unless we believe it. It's not our thoughts, but our attachment to our thoughts that causes suffering. Remember when we made the leap, the change between mental struggle and feeling energized? And I asked you, what changed? What changed? Did you suddenly get featured in a yoga magazine? Did you suddenly have an email with 20 participants or clients wanting your help? I'm guessing most likely not. What really changed was the thought, right? Yeah, what really changed was the thought. Okay, so hopefully you have yours. Is it true? And these are not right or wrong. These are not trick questions. So I'm I must be doing it wrong. It's not working. Must be doing it wrong. Is it true? Let's say I say yeah. Yeah, I think it's true. It must be. Can you know for sure that it's true? Don't just take what the inner critic says at face value. Challenge it. Challenge it to see the real truth. So when I think about it, can I absolutely know that it's true, that it's not working because I'm doing it wrong? Okay, fine. No, I can't. Well, what happens when you think it? What happens when you believe it? When I believe this thought, I shrink, I get small, I get anxious and stressed, and it feels like nothing is working whatsoever. I get irritable with my partner. I My heart sinks. It closes and I get desperate a little bit. And I start to do weird things like pay for courses I don't need. Huh, interesting. So we're just doing it with a couple minutes here. I have a workbook with the worksheets in it. Take your time and actually write it out. You can actually do this for like 20 minutes, really writing out all that happens when you think this. Oh, I didn't put this one in, but what happens when you don't think it? What if you bumped your head and you just can't think that anymore? Oh, well, if I can't think that I'm doing it wrong and it's not working, then I'd just keep trying. I would try different things. I wouldn't feel so bogged down, and it'd actually feel more like momentum. What if it was actually the other way around? This one blew my mind. When you do it the other way around, this might not be something that makes sense to your left side brain, to your analytical brain. It's going to try to analyze it and rationalize it. So when you hear someone, like even for me, as I share this with you, it might not make sense in your brain, but as you're doing it, your brain's actually rewiring itself to create new neural pathways. You may have heard of Hebb's law. What fires together wires together. A thought that we think uh, needs a couple of neurons to attach to each other. The more you think a thought, the more attached they get. So if you're so used to thinking it's not working, it's not working, it's not working, you're gonna think that thought every single day, day in and day out, faster, stronger, and harder. So what you really need to do is break that thought so that you can have a new train of thought. And that's what we're doing with this question. What if it was actually the other way around? At least 3 reasons or examples. So it it's not working. I'm doing it wrong. What if I'm doing it right and it's not working? Oh my gosh, that blew my mind. What if I'm doing it right and it's not working? 3 examples or reasons why this might be true. Well, you know, it's COVID right now. Like I can be doing everything right and it still might not be able to work because some things might be out of my control. Oh, or another one that I came up with was, what if I do it right and it's still not working? Well, then maybe it's not about if I do it right or wrong. Maybe there's another factor that I'm not looking at. Oh, okay, that's something to look at. What if I do it right and it's still not working? Well, not everything's in my control. So if it's not working, maybe it's not as much about me as I thought. Maybe it doesn't mean that I suck or that I'm worthless or that I don't deserve it. Oh, I see. Yeah. So that's changing the thoughts around. That's fiddling and playing around with the thoughts. And then finally, I know I said 5. Because the third one was so much and there was actually 2 in there. One was to challenge it. Is it true? And the second tool there, so I should have counted it as 4, is to think about the question, what if it was actually the other way around? And then finally, it's self compassion. Yeah, I have to throw that in there. Self acceptance, self love, self forgiveness. If the mental struggle is coming from a place mostly of lack, as if you're trying to prove yourself, or like as if you're not enough, then the real antidote to that is self compassion. To be in a place where you know, just like the realization I just showed you in the very last one, if it doesn't work and I did it wrong, it doesn't mean that I'm worthless or that I don't deserve happiness or that I don't deserve to have my dreams come true. No. Instead of that, be kinder and be gentler with yourself, recognizing that you too are human and that in truth, your default factory setting, the truth of who you really are, is someone that is enough, absolutely enough. There's nothing more that you need to do. There's nobody else that you need to be. There's nothing else you need to learn. Everything that you are right now is enough. Nothing's missing. Truly, nothing is missing. And when you sit in this place more often than not, you're at that top of the roller coaster. Then you can open yourself up to inspired action and confidence and joy and freedom. Then the ride is of ease and flow. Thank you so much, you guys, for your time and listening to my webinar right now. I want to leave space for Q&A, but I also want to respect your times. I want to check in with you, Camille, to see if I know we're right at 1 p.m. my time and 2 p.m. your time.
Yeah.
Do
Well, we have a couple minutes for Q&A. Sure. I'm here.
Okay.
I'm happy to keep the space open for, 10, 15 more minutes. So let's go.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to open this up to see if anybody has questions about the tools, the techniques, any comments about what any realizations or what's surfacing for you in terms of mental struggle.
I felt like you were speaking exactly what I've been thinking, Veronica. So I don't know if anybody else felt that same way. Drop an emoji if you have been. Wow.
Yeah. The struggle is real, but it doesn't have to be. So I'm going to, as you come up with questions, drop them in the chat or even the question and answer. But since we're taking a few moments while I'm waiting for your questions to trickle through, I'll just give you a bit more information about this part here, the part where we spent most of the time with in the tools, and give you some intel on what's really happening. First off, I want to say, just repeat. So this work is, Esther, you were talking about me. That's exactly how I'm feeling. Yes, Esther, I know. And not that I know, but I think a lot of us carry this around. We've been conditioned to, we come into this world and as full and perfect beings. One thing that I didn't share with you guys is I'm like a fun fact at the very beginning. I usually do, but today I didn't. And one of my fun facts is I love animals. I love animals. They are incredible. I love all of them. I think they're amazing. I love finding fun facts about them. Fun facts like, did you know that a narwhal's, like what we think is a horn, because we call them unicorns of the sea, it's actually a tooth. So it's not a horn, it's coming out of their mouth. Or that camels, their humps are made out of fat. So if they starve too much, their humps can flop. What? That's incredible. Well, I brought that up because what you said, Esther, is I was talking exactly like you, or I felt like I was talking exactly to you. Well, when we come onto this earth as these newborns, as these perfect little beings, I think we're just as perfect as any other animal out there. I cannot judge a bunny for how fast it hops. I cannot judge a giraffe by how long its neck. Like, I never look at giraffes and think, giraffe, your neck should be a little longer. It's a little stubby for my taste. Same with us. When we come into this world, we're just perfect, except our conditioning tells us otherwise, unfortunately. And we begin to feel like as if we have imperfections, and we begin to develop this voice called the inner critic. And that's the voice that we hear incessantly chirping beside our ears, telling us all that's wrong with us or things that aren't enough about us. And that's what these 5 tools are for. Yeah, Karina, thank you. That was great. Yeah, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Glad that you had good reminders and that it was encouraging. Yeah. So I was saying that I was going to tell you a little bit more about this part, Byron Katie's work, right? That's what I adapted it from. So what's really happening, I shared a little bit, Hebb's law, what fires together, wires together. It's called myelination, actually. It's almost like a saran wrap that gets wrapped around the 2 neurons, the 2 like brain cells that come together every time you think a thought. And the more you think the thought, it's like wrapping it over and over and over and over again with saran wrap. So you can think about this thought that you've had for how many years, like 20, 30, 10 years? How thick that saran wrap must look, how reinforced that must look. And by challenging this thought that just autopilot back and forth, it's not working, I'm not good enough, what's the point? Back and forth. By questioning it, you slow down that transmission. And instead of driving, let's say you've dug yourself a rut, right? Just same rut, same rut. Instead of driving in that same rut, this helps you take pause and be like, hey, wait a minute. I'm going to veer left or I'm going to veer right. But just as you think about driving, yeah, just as you think about driving and trying to get yourself out of that rut, well, you don't just like take a left turn and out you go. If it's a really deep rut, you got to go left, back up, go left, back up, go left, and kind of dig yourself a new route. Same with this. So, one message that I really want to leave you with as well is this is a practice. This isn't something that you do once and then you get to judge yourself for because that thought came back again. No, it's a practice. You are veering left or right, whichever way you want to go. Veer left, veer left, veer left until one day, like wiggling a tooth, right? Until one day you get freedom and you go left. And instead of, it's not working, what's the point? Why is this like, why am I even doing this? You find yourself more often than not thinking, all right, I got this. It is working. Yeah, I got this. It's working.
Any other questions for Veronica, folks? We'll be sending out her workbook that she's referenced in the replay email, as well as a recording of this video. So you'll get to watch her wisdom again, listen whenever you need.
Yeah.
Oh, can you name the book by Byron Katie?
Yes, thank you for asking, Esther. So Byron Katie's book is called Loving What Is, but you can also go onto her website, www.thework.com, and she has like all of the work available for you. She's got videos. You can even watch her on interviews. Like, I mean, I watched her on Marie Forleo's interview, and that was really helpful. I actually learned this tool through Martha Beck's teachings. And I wonder if there's anything. And Martha Beck does share it. She has her new book. It's called Way of Integrity. And I can't remember what chapter, but in one of the chapters, she basically brings you through this activity. So sometimes I find that when I learn, I have to learn through several different vehicles to actually understand how it goes. So you've got both those resources.
Well, last call for questions, folks. Okay.
All right. I just want to put out there that, well, first off, thank you everyone for participating and for watching this webinar. If you do come up with questions afterward, you can always connect with me. I live on Instagram at Curious Monkey, and just DM me there if you come up with something afterward.
Aw. I got great insights. We'll definitely check the Curious Monkey podcast. Yes. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thanks for joining us and OfferingTree and Veronica Thai today. This was a really wonderful, wonderful session. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.